Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu Alaikum. We are here with your program Islam in the Contemporary World. Today, the topic of our discussion is search for truth. What is truth and how we can identify the norms of truth in our society? Naturally, every religion, every person, every thinker has discussed about the importance of truth. And every community is conceiving the term according to their convenience. The interpretation of truth may be identified as an outstanding phenomena from one culture to another, from one person to another, from one religion to another religion. But I would say no. In religion we will see truth means same, but it may be seen different from one culture to another. Today's discussion is most important because we are in search of truth. Why we have missed such great thing from our society? What is the basic requirement of truth to apply the fundamental rules of truth in our community and attain the reality and attain the real meaning of truth for the welfare of our community? Community which abides by the rules and regulation of Quran and Sunnah. And while they look at the life of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as Quran says, "Kunu ma'as sadiqeen," be with truthful persons. This term, the term of sadiqeen, has been used by Quran for the betterment of human being. And this is our aim, to understand what Quran and Sunnah says about truth and how our scholars or the contemporary thinkers think of truth. In this connection, we have invited our two guest speakers who would be participating in our program, and they would be discussing about search for truth. Our first guest for the program is a very important person. He is author of some books on kids, youth, and he received his basic training or education from USA. He is a psychologist by profession. I mean Dr. Raid Afzal. We welcome you in our program Islam in the Contemporary World.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dear viewers, our second guest is also important because he's been serving for the forces so many years. And right now, he is Director of Education and he is expert in strategic studies, and he knows the discipline of the community based on truth. I mean, retired Air Commodore, Mr. Jamal Hussain. Mr. Jamal Hussain, we welcome you in our program, Islam in the Contemporary World.
Shukriya.
So after such slight discussion, such slight introduction, such slight information about truth, we will be discussing in detail what is truth. Dr. Raid, being a psychologist, how do you see truth and what is the importance of truth for the community welfare?
This is a very important question, and I think as a psychologist, what is more important is not what is truth, but what truth brings to you. Psychology is a very practical subject, and you're always focusing on the results of various practices. So, you might be getting to truth from many different ways, and you might have a different interpretation of truth, but it is always one thing at the end, and truth is peace. It's basically tranquility. is having this calm feeling within yourself that everything is okay and everything will be okay and I'm in good hands. Now it doesn't matter what you name the deity and the power that is going to support you and protect you and feed you. You may have a different name for it, but you're always having this trust in that supreme being that he is going to keep me safe. And at the end, things will be okay. So now that kind of calmness that comes once you find your truth, like you said, once you find your own truth, keeps you away from many physical ailments. It saves you from sugars and blood pressures and hypertensions. So what is more important, that what your truth is bringing for you rather than what your truth is.
That's really great, and I believe if we follow basic norms of Islam, basic norms of spirituality, then we wouldn't be loser. We would gain more and more. And if we are looking for such peaceful atmosphere in which we could live, and we could say that now we have peaceful mind and heart, then we will have to have some basic principles in our lives. Then it would raise these diseases, what you mentioned, and we can control all these. And we will be discussing about all these diseases and other stuff, whatever we have in today's culture or in our daily lives. So, Mr. Jamal Hussain, being an educationist or a part of forces in military and other stuff, how do you see truth?
The way I look at truth is, the first thing is, the term which comes to my mind is universal truth, which we all think is something standard and which is irrevocable and everybody understands it. My view is that universal truth is perhaps applicable in only civilized societies. In societies which are not civilized, perhaps their truth may be a bit different and their values may not be similar to the universal truths as we see it in civilized societies. And to me, if I were to give an example, if I, as a teacher, as a parent, one of my duties is to make sure that I guide and my children or my students to the correct path. So this perhaps may be one of the universal truths in any society. The difference would come in the methodology. For example, in my days or in my grandparents' days, my parents' days, or even in the earlier in the West also, spare the rod and spoil the child was considered the way of making sure that your pupils or your children do not stray from the correct path. Things change. So the way I look at it, where we go wrong is that while, as Dr. Rad very correctly has said, that is the end product which we are looking, and if we were to look at truth as the end product and not fight on the modalities, we'll be doing okay. So that's the point I would like to make. It's the end product we should look at, and if somebody reaches that product through some other means, even if it is not, we do not find it correct in our environment, we should learn to accept it, because that is the way they reach the truth.
So, Dr. Raid, being a psychologist, you think spirituality a main source to bring peace in the community, and it would restore truth for the rest of the world or for the emerging generation?
I think this is the problem that we are not, this is the issue, I think. Looking at Pakistani culture after spending so many years in states, I think this is the main problem that we are not addressing in our society. Like you said, we are not getting the essence of many religious rituals that we follow. We do namaz, we do fasting, we go for umrah and hajj and everything. But for some reason we miss the spirituality of it.
You think we missed
Absolutely.
spirituality?
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
we eliminated spirituality from the community?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
this
for
I wanted to discuss.
Absolutely. You know, I have people who I know are suffering from anxiety and depression. And they say to me that we are going for Umrah, say for example. and we will come back better person. Now I tell them that if you go there with this aim that you will feel that spirituality within you. Spiritualism is another name for truth. When you find the truth, you have become spiritual.
So there is no difference between spirituality and truth. This is the main message of our discussion right now, and we are in process of completion of our discussion, but we have to go for a short break. Please stay with us. We'll be coming back soon. Dear viewers, welcome back in our program Islam in the Contemporary World, and today we are discussing about truth. What is truth and how can we restore the principles of truth in our life for the betterment of human being? And naturally, as Dr. Raid mentioned, truth and spirituality, they go all together.
They are two sides of the same coin, like the saying goes. Now, what happens that you get those people back from Umrah and whatever ritual they are going to perform, and you see a person who is more suffering from anxiety than before he went for that certain ritual or Umrah, or it may be something else, going to a dargah or some other place. And you ask that person, I say, what happened? Didn't you find the truth? Didn't you find the spirituality when you went there? And they would say that, yes, we did, indeed. But what happened, that end of that thing, the program, we went out for shopping. And there we got ourselves involved in buying gifts for our relatives and something from ourselves, and we were charging on our credit card, and we were short of money, so we had to get some more money from Pakistan or from wherever they have come. So by the time we boarded on the plane, we had more anxiety than we went there with. So actually, if you get yourself out of this material world and you come out of this rat race where you are thinking of that one person who has more than you have.
Yeah, and materialism
is killing it.
Yeah.
Actually, materialism is a poison that completely destroys spirituality, and it pulls you away from truth. It may be that you have found the truth, but if you get yourself involved in materialism, then you will start losing that truth.
Mr. Jamal Hussain, you think that spirituality and materialism can be identified as a compulsory part or essential part for each other, or they must be separated? What do you think?
While Dr. Raid is making a very valid point, I look at it as a normal human being with all the weaknesses and strengths which God has given in a human being. When I look at it, and I believe that any society which goes totally spiritual will not progress.
Will not
progress. Okay, if everybody becomes a saint, nothing will be made. So therefore, some of us will have to have that germ of materialism, and it has to be tempered by spiritualism. And I think the lesson, if I can invoke Islam and invoke our religion and many other religions, which says that everything should be done in a balanced manner. So as long as your material, your jistuju, what we call in Urdu, what you want to get ahead in life, is as long as that is not beyond a particular point, you are okay. But if everybody wants that, okay, I'm happy with what I am, I don't need to do anything, then you can imagine the society is going to stay where.
So today's materialistic approach has improved selfish behavior. Focal point for the materialistic approach is to live for yourself. And the Sufi people, those who were here and still they are here around us, they were selfless. Yes. Because Quran and Sunnah, they haven't stopped not to earn money.
Yes.
Not to open your businesses, not to go for the community help or like for the better opportunities in the world. Islam doesn't stop you, or it doesn't prohibit. But the major thing is that if you're fully involved, say if I'm working in US for just only for making money, I'm seeing my home, my cars, other stuff, but something is missing from my life, which is spirituality. And spirituality naturally restores the message of truth, because once, if you go for such practices, you will see from inside you're satisfied. As Dr. Raid mentioned, and you also mentioned, you think that materialistic approach has destroyed our peace and truth in the world?
Yes, I am not going to disagree with this assumption. What I am saying is that human nature, and this is made by Allah, is given that He has put this bit of germ in some of us. Not all of us will be saints.
Yeah.
Some of us will be worldly, but as Quran and Sunnah as very rightly exhorts us, that as long as you maintain a balance for most of us,
Exactly.
there will be spirituals who the great saints, etc. All of us cannot be great saints, and imagine if all of us became saints, then who is going to produce anything in the society? So
I
it
think,
has to be a
what-
mix.
From inside,
It has to be mixed.
what Islam wants to see an individual, this is most important.
Yes.
And Islam wants to see a person, an
Balance.
individual, as an ideal person. And from inside, it says purification of heart.
Yes.
While say kunu ma sadiqeen, become a part of this system which refers to reality. And reality is that peace from inside and outside. While Quran says, Simahum fi wujuhim min asri sujood, you would see the signs of sujood, obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where on their faces. The faces are shining. And this is a reflection of your inside peace.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Raid, what do you say about this?
Actually, when your heart is balanced with emotions, like you have fear of God, and beside that you have hope from God, and you have grief of all those times when you were not able to obey Him,
Yeah.
and then you are feeling this pleasure of feeling this grief, that you are thinking that if I have this grief within myself, that I did not obey Allah, then you feel the pleasure of that, right?
Yeah.
When this balance comes within your heart, it starts reflecting on your forehead. There is a communication going on between your heart and face and brain, especially this frontal lobe, the front brain,
You mean like eyes?
above eyes and above this region,
There are specific signals.
signals.
And these
absolutely.
signals work for internal and external
Balance.
variables.
Balance, absolutely.
Variables, and these
Absolutely.
variables, they work for or against.
Absolutely.
While we look at any scene, oh, this is really a beautiful movie. So movie, say, it is about Makkah and Medina.
Absolutely.
So it would create a special love and your belongingness
Absolutely.
to that specific...
And that start reflecting on in your eyes and your face.
Yeah.
For example, you see, I met this industrialist some few weeks back in Pakistan, and he was into opening hotels and factories and businesses and farms, and I said, why you do all this? Why you into making money? Because I see that balance in your face and everything. He said, you know, I have made all the money that I want to make some years back. I am starting new businesses just to provide halal, pure employment to Pakistani people. And more businesses I start, more truthfulness, more spirituality I feel within myself.
MashaAllah, this is like even business, while you invite people to be a part of your business, and you're honest. Say professional ethics has gone from our community. Most of the people, they want to make money or get more and more from different resources, but unfortunately we have forgotten that how Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has set an example while he was carrying things from Makkah, the things from Hazrat Khudayja radhiyallahu ta'ala anha, to sell out, and he was following truth. And this means that we must follow code of conduct, code of ethics in business. So do you see that today we have lost the basic ethics of truth?
Perhaps to an extent your observation would be correct. My only caveat is that there is a tendency in all of us, especially we the older generation, to say that our times we were much better in every respect, including honesty, etc. When I look back, I am not so sure. And if this statement is true, assuming that the statement is true, that we were more truthful in our young days, etc., then I think the credit goes to our parents. And if our children are bad, then the discredit goes to us. So we should be careful when he said, actually we are pointing at our own failures. If today our children are more materialistic and they are not as truthful as we were, which I doubt personally, because when I see the new generation, in many ways I see them better than what we are. If the aspect of materialism has come in, perhaps the reason is that in our time, because of many other factors, the pressure on us was not that much.
Please be with us. Still, we are in search of truth. Our discussion is in progress. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome back in our program Islam in the Contemporary World, and we are discussing about truth. What is truth and how are scholars participating to promote the idea of truth for the betterment of our lives. Mr. Jamal Hussain, please.
I'm speaking from my experience, and my personal belief is that my children are in many ways wiser, more intelligent and more knowledgeable than I was. And I hope our grandchildren will be even better than them, because it is only through this that a society progresses. If we get into a situation where our children are not as good as us and their children is not, then the society goes into a spiral and is down the drain. Perhaps to an extent this is what our society is suffering from. But then I again look at the problem is then at me, because if I was good when I was a child, as I said earlier, the credit goes to my parents. And if my children are more materialistic, then perhaps I have taught them the wrong thing. So I have to correct myself first. And to me, the best method of preaching is as the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him, has himself dedicated, that first you set by example. Just by preaching and bad example, in fact, this goes the negative way.
Dr. Wright, how can we promote truth in our community? Not necessarily for kids or for children or female or male. Whole of the community must be a part of truth, and they should get a fruitful result from truth. What do you suggest?
You see, this is a very pertaining question, you know, pertaining to our society today. Working with school children and mothers and fathers, I think that when you are single, you don't have kids, then you can work on your own self, trying to find truth. But once you have children, the best way to find truth for yourself is by helping your children find truth. For some reason, I see the next generation, the today's generation, more aligned towards truth. They can find the truth. They can find that spirituality. They can have that peace within themselves. If we if we can leave them alone. It might sound strange, you know, but I see us adults diverting our children, diverting the next generation away from truth, because we have some misgivings, we have this sense of loss within ourselves, and we want that to be fulfilled. Our wishes to be fulfilled.
So you don't believe in guidance or...
Absolutely. I do believe, but the kind of guidance I see many parents providing to their children is taking them away from truth, spirituality.
You think so?
Absolutely.
So do you negate that they should not contact any spiritual leader or a spiritual person?
They do. This is what I'm saying. If they follow a kind of spiritual leader that can create spirituality within them, only then they can transfer that spirituality and truthfulness to their children. Those people who are just kind of advising, nagging their kids all day long, and just pressurizing them, do this and don't do this, while they themselves are not doing it, they are kind of confusing their children.
You mean there must be a liberty or freedom?
Absolutely.
For the promotion of personality, because personality in psychology, it is the most important chapter.
Right.
And once, if you look at the personality and perception and the role of an individual or person in the community development, so they go with their experiences. Either they're 25 years old or 16 years old, everybody has experience, and keeping themselves within the framework of age group, they have their own experience. Sometimes we miss some experiences, and we can learn from our youngsters. So there is a
Actually, the most important thing we need to do for our next generation to help them find the truth is to give them the freedom to observe independently without throwing our conclusions, judgments on them. If we make them observe the science, the nature, the phenomena, the history, then they will find the truth.
Mr. Jamal Hussain, how about the contemporary world? The contemporary world, and especially our youth, they always complain that these are the wrongdoings of our ancestors, our parents, or our guide or teachers. They always make complaints against them. And they say, if they would have told us about the situation, we would have gone for this step or this action. So they are always, they means hyphenated. The old generation is responsible for all these mishappenings. So they are carrying these sort of thought, and they are promoting the same. So anxiety and depression, the level of anxiety and depression is creating serious personality problems, and their perception has gone as a negative, crazy perception. What do you think about?
Perhaps what you say must be based on your experience, and I can only relate my experience, and my experience with most of the youngsters whom I deal with is a bit different. When I look at them, in many ways I find them better than what I was as a kid. In many ways. Of course there are exceptions. So perhaps, is your statement true? Perhaps in your case, in most of the young kids I've seen them better, and when I compare them with what I was at that age, I see them better. And I think what Dr. Rayat very correctly pointed out, that the way where we have gone wrong, and to again go to an incident of our Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, when a lady came to him and asked him about the honey, he told her to come later. And the reason was simple, because he said, I love honey, before I can advise, I will give up honey for that period. So is there a better example? So if some of our children are complaining what you say, then we need to look at ourselves, not at our children.
Yeah,
that's my take on it.
There should be a combination of theory and practice. And
No,
this is
what we tell them, we must not violate it ourselves, otherwise it will have a very negative impact.
You think our generation, as a custodian of convention and traditions, has played a vital role. We learn Quran, we learn Hadith, we learn Islamic education properly, we receive education from Islamic thought, and then we are transforming and transmitting all these basic sources to our next generation. You think so? Because it is a matter of truth. Because once if you transform knowledge to the receiving end, they will be having a proper response, negative or positive. That's why I wanted to mention that once if I ask a young man, oh, come on, let's discuss about Quran and Quranic chapters. They said, my father or my mother, they never recite Quran. They never talk of Ghazali, Mawardi, Ibn Sina, Rushd, even Ghalib and Mir Taqi and these important personalities. So while they talk of, they would be talking about different aspect of knowledge. They are very well versed in physics, chemistry, maths, bio, physio, and psychology, and political science, and public
No, I agree with you to that point, but let me add, the way I look at it, most of our parents are today are well versed about only one thing, and that is politics.
Absolutely.
We think that politics is our lifeline. It's like blood, which is circulating within our body. I don't know what's going wrong. Why we are so much concerned about national politics, and we don't pay any attention to all those people that you have just named.
Exactly, and this I wanted to point out how we can make a great difference in the world. Please stay with us. We are coming back soon. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome back in our program Islam in the Contemporary World, and today we are discussing about very important topic, search for truth. What is truth? Our thinkers, intellectuals, they are talking about the reality of truth. Dr. Raid, we were discussing about truth, so how do you add up?
Right. I would say exactly what I said at the beginning of the program, that truth is having this peace within yourself, to be happy with the state that you're in. If you are going through hard times, then having this feeling that times will turn and good times inshallah will come. And if you are having good times and you have all the money and all the resources in the world, then feeling that all this has come from Allah and I have to share. Now, truth is to have this state of mind that this is a very short span of time, and there is another life which is going to follow afterwards, and we have to prepare for them.
You mean if we believe in life
Hereafter,
after death?
life after death.
So this would make you a different person.
A different person. It will bring peace.
That's why Holy Prophet.
That's the truth.
That's why Holy Prophet ﷺ asked Muslim Ummah to go and visit graveyards.
Absolutely. Actually, it's a very short span of time. And if we think that the life that we are living right now is this big, and the life afterwards is from here up to the roof or maybe the sky, then whatever happens in this short span of time doesn't bother you.
So we must be ready.
Absolutely.
To be accountable to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala for
Absolutely.
those activities which we did here. And naturally, Mr. Jamal Hussain, you'll be having your own experience about the community. What is missing from the community to adopt truthfulness?
I think there is a problem which we are facing, and I think I agree with you that as a society we are going down, and there is a multitude of reasons why that's happening, and perhaps one of them is shortage of things. I mean, everything is in short supply, and whenever things in short supply, there will always be more competition, and then human values tend to go into the background, because again I will say by nature humans have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to survive, and to survive there are times he is going to do very bad things, because that's the way God has made us, and that is why that's how he tests us also. That when he puts us through those tests, and those who despite those difficulties still follow the good path, they are the ones who are successful. And the fact that point that you're making about life after that, I suppose the other way of looking at it, as long as we know that we are accountable for all our deeds, okay, only then some sanity will come into the society. Otherwise, if I do not believe it, if I only believe it in the sense that I say it, but I do not believe it in the heart.
Theoretically, if we just
I say it because if I don't say it, you are going to shoot me or I'm going to get into trouble, but I do not believe it in the heart, then I'm afraid you will do whatever it takes to better yourself, even at the cost of humanity. And as Dr. Saab pointed out, you are going to be miserable regardless of how much you seem to have succeeded.
You think truth can be the best therapy for the personality?
There can be
Although I'm not asking a psychologist.
Opinion on that. Yeah, there can be no two opinion. The truth, as Dr. Raid has described, yes. That is what gives you the. After all, if I have to pray to Allah Almighty to give me one quality, and that would be to give me patience and satisfaction. No matter how much money I get, no matter I become the king of this whole world, if I do not have the satisfaction and I have, it's no good.
Dr. Raid, I think Islam has allowed us to participate in community, to enjoy with life, to enjoy with our friends, brothers and sisters but there are some limitations. If we enjoy our business based on some wrongdoings, so it is naturally prohibited. You think a person who is misleading society, who is misleading things, or who is going against Quran and Sunnah, here he is satisfied. But as being Muslim, we would say, yeah, he has broken the promise. So the first promise in Quran, as Quran says, this is the meaning, the purpose of your birth is to obey Allah. This is the first social contact theory. If we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, then naturally we will be rewarded after our departure from this world. So this sort of thinking, naturally,
right.
psychologically, this would create a sort of peace in our mind.
Professor Saab, there is a misconception that I want to clear here, which prevails in all of our society. We think that the rich man who has cheated many and has gathered much is at peace. Let me tell you this. As a layman, you would only look at the skin. And as a psychologist, we look at the bone.
Yeah.
We have this skill, or we are trained to go deep into human brain and see what's going on. Let me tell everybody that those people who have cheated others, just like you said,
yeah,
and they have gathered a lot through wrong means, they are not at peace. They are living a miserable life within themselves. Miserable life.
That's why there are so many serious diseases.
Absolutely. You go to the slums, you go to those people who are poor, you will not see blood pressure.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I work with poor people of the country. I never see blood pressure or ulcer or hypertension.
To me, they are rich.
They are rich. They sleep good. They don't come to me for insomnia.
Because they don't have so much money.
They don't have the
because
simple life.
they enjoying their life with limited resources.
Absolutely.
And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, live simply. You would live a happy life.
Happy life. Absolutely.
Very simple.
Absolutely.
We have forgotten the basic path. And as a psychologist, did you mark anything important or very specific in the community, I mean today's Muslim community? What we are doing, we read Quran, we recite Quran, we read Hadith, and we talk of Islam, but what is missing?
Actually, what happens that in 1970s, there was the reinvention or the recreation or the rebirth of Islam, you know, and the Islamic awareness spread throughout the world. Now, in last 30-40 years, we have come towards reading and obeying the rituals of Islam, but we have still need to grasp the soul of it.
Soul. And soul is most important.
Absolutely.
In Islam, and
Absolutely.
purification of soul is a chapter in Islam which must be followed and understood by the Muslim community. But unfortunately, we haven't understood the meaning of soul, the meaning of ruh, the meaning of reality, and the meaning of our birth here in this world, which is a temporary world. My dear brothers and sisters, we are discussing about a most important topic, but we are running by shortage of time. And in last following convention of our program, I must say words of thanks to our brothers who are here to share their experiences. Dr. Raid Afzal, I'm thankful to you. And Mr. Jamal Hussain, I'm thankful to you.
My pleasure.
Being with us and discussing so much important things within a short time, which is very important. Thank you very much. Dear brothers and sisters, you must have understood that truth is a leading phenomena. It is a leading principle of life. What we are missing from our life, it's very easy to say that you're wrong, I'm right. But Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is known as Sadiq and Amin, custodian of truth, a role model for humanity, a role model for the real transformation of human psychology, a role model for the human being, as Quran says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And another occasion, Quran says, قَدْ جَاءَكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ نُورٌ وَكِتَابٌ مُبِينٌ. This is Holy Prophet Muhammad who came for the purification of heart and mind and the perception of this poor society, which is known as Arab society, which used to bury a female, a girl. But Holy Prophet changed whole world by his practice, by his very strong character. And this character, which was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Quran says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Most merciful for mankind. Let's follow the life of Holy Prophet ﷺ, which is a pure, perfect paradigm for humanity. And this should not be mentioned as a theory. This is a reality. The life of Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ refers to applied social aspect, which refers to economy, psychology, human relationship, behavioristic relationship, so on and so forth. My dear brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, being Muslim, we are getting everything. Blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is upon humanity generally, and especially for the Muslims. But one thing is missing. We claim, but we don't prove. Let's go for the reality that we would love Holy Prophet ﷺ from inside, and we would prove that we are the people who are following this true message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in shape of Quran and the beautiful life of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So truth is a key of success for humanity and human being. Let's promise ourselves that we will be continuing with truth and following the life of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the betterment of ourselves. May Allah bless all of you. Thank you very much for your share watching our program Islam in the Contemporary World. May Allah bless all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah Hafiz. Goodbye.